pi again. And this is a cipher that that Dennis Fetch came up with called the Isisian cipher. He lives in Jordan now. I don't know if he was kicked out of the country. I'm not sure what his story is, why he's living in Jordan now. But he's a very smart guy, so I was looking to see what he had maybe found out with his cipher. So what he does is he takes these letters of these first 30, he goes to 31 places of pi, and then I'm not sure, I haven't seen the video or anything where he talks about his method of how he came up with this, but I think what he did was he knew that God in simple gematria equals 26, and there are a lot of other important words that equal 26, so he found this part of pi, the 26. There's actually two 26s in here, but he took this one and he split the alphabet over it. And there, it's kind of, so I'm going to show you what the alphabet does here. So he starts the A on the 13th place here, after the decimal point. So it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Then it goes back to the 6, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And I haven't seen why he does this. However, I've been looking at this and I think he might be right. So once I figure out how he does this, I will have back engineered some other thing that probably will be useful, hopefully. Well, anyway, IQ does in this cipher equal God. And that kind of makes sense. I wanted to show you, because I was looking at this and then I realized this, when I first looked at this, I didn't realize as much about Q as I know now. I almost want to ran out of paper, but I want to write the just the simple placement code of the alphabet over this, because Q is 17, as we know. 17 equals HI, which is one method of writing pi. So 17 is a pi code, and 25 is a pi code. Now, one thing that I thought was interesting about how they laid this, and maybe why they're paying attention to this, because I'd like to know which came first, the chicken and the egg, but being an outsider here, I don't get to know that unless I read the right book maybe, or I don't know if it's on Amazon. So far, none of my books have talked about this. But their 33rd degree is over here, and this is their fifth. This is the this number 50 right here, which is just a 50 in the lineup of pi, ends up to be the last 2 degrees of Freemasonry. This is the final state. So, and I've talked about this before in a few videos, but it's been a while. So the final state is Hawaii. That's the 50th state, and that is also another sign for pi. The H is Greek for P. That's how it's written. So this is the 50th state, the final state before melting. And it's interesting that on the 33rd place of pi there is a 2, because that is symbolically Isis. It's the pregnant mother. And then after that comes an 8 and another 8, which are, the Cathars saw these, and a lot of people see these as Christ numbers. So it's interesting that it's almost like you could see that if they're studying these numbers, they would say that Christ came through, and this was the state of the person that Christ came through. If you think of these, if you take these 8s and turn them into a cross, and I don't know if they're I don't know if they're talking about a cross in terms of the planet of the crossing. I don't know if they're talking about a Christ in terms of like the anointed one, because anointed one means Messiah, and that's where the Greek word Christ came from, was anointed one. But we've seen in the back to the books that the anointed ones are basically those who were chosen by the Anunnaki. And modern Christianity seems like it takes the idea of anointed one as someone who was chosen by God. And I don't think they mean the Anunnaki. Now, they could just be, I do think they're tricked into using Anunnaki words, but I think most Christians have a certain feeling in their heart that is not connected to this all this ancient, crap and distortion that went on. I think they are dialed into a true love. I think some of their mentality and some of their concepts around this get a little twisted and judgmental, and they mostly because of fear, they have fear reactions which have twisted concepts in them. But mostly, if you talk to a Christian person and they talk about God, the feeling that you get from them is that they're talking about something that it's almost like they're talking about something that they remember from before they were born. Most of them have an immediate relationship with the truth that they think of as God. You don't see them, dialing back in their energy to an Anunnaki God who anointed, a mortal king. But even though that's where the words came from. So I just want to point that out. But so we have to kind of acknowledge, so even though the Christ word comes from the Greek and it ultimately comes from those chosen by Anunnaki, for many people today it means that someone who is connected to their Christ self is connected to the truth within. They have an inner sense of ethics. They don't need to read it in a book or be taught. They know what's right to do. And they're also always deepening in their truth. And that's what most people today, I think of as anointed. So even though the history is all distorted and it's disappointing to learn about that, I think we can realize that most people do have this, like if you think of your heart as a technology, it's actually dialing the right number most of the time. You Christians get a little caught up in the details and they get judgmental, but basically most of them are, they usually just do that out of fear, which is understandable because that's the religion tries to control out of fear. Well, so okay, that's what I want to mention about the Christ numbers here. So it's interesting that the 33rd is Isis, looks like, and this would be the Holy Spirit, and then in this other cipher here, this is called the achromatic cipher. I wish I had written achromatic cipher here, but I didn't. Okay, I'm going to collect all my ciphers on this page. This is another idea of how the Christ comes through the mother. This is the M. This is the 13, and it squishes together to be the B. So she's the 1, 2, and the 3, and that's all inside of this idea of the M. And so anyway, you can see the CHRST comes through the M. And it is, of course, the M is in the 33rd place. So this is a little bit like the B being in the 33rd place. It's a different take on the alphabet. Also, let's just notice it's in the shape of an L, which is the square. It's the square of Freemasonry. Not Freemasons. Some of them are, actually most of them are misled now, but some of them have good intentions. And the square, if you follow the idea of the square, and the compass, it goes all the way back even to the Mayan times. So I think it was actually an Atlantis type of idea. Now Atlantis was kind of messed up too. So just because it came from Atlantis, you can't say that it's clean. But originally it was meant to be an idea of correct rulership. That if you're going to rule over people, or you're going to guide a village, or if you're going to be involved being in charge of humans, you need to have correct rule, which is treat others as you would wish to be treated. And that's basically what Yahshua taught. So I want, but basically because sometimes I get these ideas and then I'll forget them if I don't make a video right away. So I wanted to show you what else I found in this code. The other 26 is JK. Reminds me of J.K. Rowling. So we can, the M here is on the 3 spot, which would be a trinity. And you can kind of see that in the shape of the letter as well. There's a lot more to see here. There's a 9323 right here, and I have it in my notes somewhere about Zachary K. Hubbard talking about the synagogue of Satan. The gematria is, it's either a 232 or a 323. I'm going to look that up and try to make some more connections here. Oh, here's what I didn't mention yet, I don't think. IQ in the God position. Look at it, means I. That's the ego. That's the functioning dream self. Hopefully, with most people, it should be an integrated ego. You should integrate your true self as much as you can with your ego. You want an integrated ego. You don't really want to be egoless, because you won't be able to function very well in this earth, and then you're not going to do your brother and sister any good if you just need to be fed and meditate all the time. But basically, so here it's I am Pi, I think. And that comes back to the idea of holiness, of Pi. You know, the full circle, the shape of Pi. And this sign of Pi is very interesting, because this is the sign that I take to be, this is the Pi, the 17 placement code of the alphabet that interrupts Phi. Phi is 1.618. There's a 17 missing in there. So this would be the 17. And so I know that sounds contorted to people who never heard it before, but you have to think that these guys, I'm starting to think like they're children, that they go to a different school. Like it would be like Hogwarts maybe compared to the rest of us, where they learn all of this in a very fundamental way, so that it doesn't seem contorted and strange to them to have all of these symbols kind of like locked in conceptually with all of these numbers and shapes. So for them to see an IQ, they would know the relationship between Phi, Pi, and some of these other numbers like E, some of these numbers I've been talking about lately that basically they arise out of nature. They have some kind of spiritual aspect that usually that the Freemasons notice. So I know that sounds like, for me to say that Q interrupts Phi, I know that sounds really strange if you're not used to numbers, and I'm frankly not either. I've only been studying this for like less than a year. I've been studying a lot of other stuff though, and it's all kind of coming together. So when you come up against something like that, instead of thinking that the person teaching you that might be crazy or digging too deep into the numbers, you need to realize that probably these guys learn different things in school, and so that to them, this is like, you know, all of these concepts that I'm showing you, and I think I'm like coming up with something, and then I get excited and make a little video. That's probably just like one little piece of a multiplication table that they memorized as a second grader or something. And so to us, it's new because we're coming up that on our own and nobody taught us, and we're excited about these patterns. But if you look at it, you might think, okay, well, I'm drawing too many strange parallels and making too many strange inferences. But I just invite you to think about, they probably learned this in the second and third grade. They had it memorized by that time. And they don't feed their children fluoride and other brain deadeners, and so their children might be thinking better than our poor sweet children that we send to public school. They probably don't have Wi-Fi in their schools either. Okay, the other thing I want to point out is ST is 33, and we see this ST combination in a lot of important words in English. You know, NASA uses it for their STS, their missions patches. So part of studying these numbers and these letters and the gematria, when I gematria a code out for you, when I take a word apart, I'm looking for the prefix, the major noun, the major vowel combinations, and the suffix, so that I can understand, because each word, each syllable of a word is like a little mini word, a little mini concept, which makes each word more like a sentence. And so we're going to start to be able to understand this. And if you just come along with me, we'll just pick it up piece by piece. And pretty soon we're going to understand these things. And then the videos are going to be really hard to understand because we'll be flying over some of these concepts. And I hope that this sinks in. Sometimes I work on this and then the next day I don't remember any of it. Wanted to point out that the W, which is the 23rd place, is also a 2, which is Isis. Isis has shown herself in the ancient artwork as being Pleiadian and having the hands in this position of the W. So to me that's another confirmation. So I talked to you about Hawaii. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap this video up now. And I'm just going to keep working on this, but I wanted to show you all that before I forgot it. All right, love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.